This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues.
Hey, it's Abby and Cheree with Let's Talk Teens, episode 8, What to Do When Your Teen Hates School.
Hey, Cheree. So we're in the thick of back to school right now when you and I are recording this. And I thought, let's talk to parents about what to do when your teen hates school, because both you and I work as life coaches with teenagers, but we've also been teachers with teenagers. And I taught high school, and I know you've done seminary. And so we have been in the thick of it. And I feel like it's very obvious when a teenager does not like school. And as a parent, it can send you into a panic. I have a kindergartner, and every day I'm like, okay, like let's just hopefully it's a good day, right? Like let's make it a good day. So I wanted to share some thoughts, and I want to hear yours on what can you do when your teenager hates school? And one of my first and my biggest is like, don't feed into it by giving it negative tension. All the parenting research out there just keeps coming back to this idea that the attention that you give to your teens is a gift. Your teens constantly are seeking parental attention, and we can either give them good attention or bad attention, but it doesn't really matter because they get that attention either way. And so I always think, don't fall for the trap of, oh, mom and dad, I hate school. And then you sit down with them, you spend hours talking about it, you go round and round with them, you give them maybe even special attention because, they've expressed that they hate school. And so be so conscious that you're not giving a negative event more attention than it needs in its life, because honestly, my some of my best parenting techniques with this is to be like unflappable about it. Be like, oh, okay, you know, because guess what? We all have something we hate, right? Like I compare going to school like going to work. We all know somebody that totally hates their job, and yet they go to work every day, and they still earn an income, and they still like go do it, right? So I kind of treat school that way. I'm like, okay, you can hate it and still go to school, right? Like I don't have to make this a big deal. What are your thoughts on that? I want to pass that over to you.
Well, I love that so much. I think so often as parents, we think we need to fix it, like it's a problem to solve. Like we need to convince them to not hate school, or we need to make it so they like school. And so we give it so much attention because we're trying to change their mind. And what kept coming to my mind is let them hate school. It's just like what you talked about with work. Like sometimes we're going to hate going to work. Sometimes we're going to hate. I was talking to my sister earlier today, and she was saying her 13-year-old right now is like hating going to church. And so it's like sometimes we just have to be like, yeah, like you're going to hate this, and we're just going to let you hate it. And nothing's gone wrong. And so I love that, not giving it negative attention or making a big deal out of it. It's just really neutralizing it.
Yeah, and it is. It really is. Like I know my mom brain starts panicking, but you just got to say, "Oh, it's okay." And that goes with my second tip for parents, which is don't overanalyze it. So I heard this new phrase lately, and I am loving it. I'm like adapting it, making it my own. It's called knitting the sweater. And I heard this lady say it, and she's like, "Just don't go home and knit the sweater." And what she meant by that was don't go home and create a whole story around it, that I picture this angry person making a sweater, and oh, they hate school because of this one professor, and if they would just be nice to them, or oh, if their siblings liked school or were a better example. Like don't don't knit the sweater. Like we don't have to overanalyze this. You think back of when you were in high school. There were days we hated going to school, whether that was because we had drama with our friends. There was a college professor that I just like could not stand, but we do it. So don't overanalyze it. And then lastly, I always believe in making doing well, like the positive opposite, making that both joyful and rewarded at home. So we celebrate and really emphasize when our teen had an awesome day at school. That's when you give that positive attention and you sit down and say, "Oh my gosh, tell me about your awesome day at school." Or you have reward systems. I'm not sure if you did that, Sheree, with your kids. Like, how did you reward them for doing well in school?
I think sometimes we over reward with monetary. And so I was really cautious with that because what I want the reward to be is how they feel about themselves. So this is silly, and I didn't learn this to my youngest, but wish I would have learned it earlier. I would turn it back to him when he did well in school and say, aren't you so proud of yourself? Like, look how hard you worked. And one of the things you said about like celebrating when they do well, I think that's really important. I also think it's really important to celebrate and pay attention when they're doing it, even though they don't like it. They're going and they're showing up
Yes.
and saying, hey, I really have noticed like you have a lot of grit because even though you hate school, you're showing up and you're doing it anyway. And that's pretty remarkable. And really focusing on the character traits that they're showing. But you sure are persevering through something that is really hard for you. And so it's not just about, like, I think it is so important to celebrate their successes and when they do well, but well is subjectional. Like, well could be straight A's, but it also could be your teen showing up at school when school is hard for them. And so looking at how they are showing up in building their character traits and showing up and doing the hard thing as well as showing up and doing excellent work and getting straight A's.
I love that because that is something I really do want to emphasize. We say, oh, reward them, and we go, okay, an A equals $5 or something, or a high five. But like, what if you and your team said, hey, you were on time every single day this week and you didn't, you were so pleasant in the morning, right? Like,
Yeah, so
let's
good.
let's go do something. So
Yeah.
making going to school, being at school the whole time, not sloughing, being on time. Like those are all things to cheer on your teen when they're even struggling to go so that they feel seen. They feel like, okay, mom and dad actually get it. Like they're not just hounding me for good grades, but they actually see that I really am having a hard time with school, but that I'm still showing. So I love, you said grit. That's one of my favorite words. So I love that, Cheree.
I have one more thought on that too, is like letting your teen choose the reward. Maybe they set goals at the beginning of the year. So for one of your kids, it would be like, okay, I want to get straight A's. And that is something that they're going to have to work hard for. And it's going to be really important to them. Maybe the other one is like being on time every day. Maybe for another one, it's not sloughing, but let them choose their own goal and choose their own reward. Okay, when I do this for so long, this is what I want. I will, like want to see happen. I want to be able to have a late night with my friends, or I want to go get ice cream as a family, or, I want extra screen time or whatever it is. And so the teenager starts to own their success and own their reward, and it will mean more to them. That's just another thought.
Oh, I love that. And I'll end with this story that I really, when it came to grades and going to school, I never gave my parents any trouble because I loved it. I thought it was fun and I was like honor roll student because that was just somewhere that my brain, like the way school was taught, made sense to me. And so I never really, it was like not a big deal if I got like A's or 4.0. Well, I remember my little brother, he got like a report card that in my mind, I was like, whoa, that's not very good. But like my parents celebrated it. They were so proud of him. And they were just like, oh my gosh, guys, did you see these grades that Jackson got? Right. And I remember being like, Dad, you never really like cheered on my good grades. And he was like, you know what, Abby? I never really had to. But for your brother, this was like a huge amount of effort. So I love, right, that we recognize each kid is on their own school journey and we reward them the way that really fits that journey. So thank you. And I hope that these tips help you out, mom and dad. It is tough, but it is something that you can totally like persevere through with your teen. And you don't even have to worry about it. Like, support them, love them through it, but it doesn't have to be a major issue that your teen doesn't love school. So thank you for joining us on this episode. We hope we will see you on our next one, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.